Hi, everyone. It's Alan Thornton, President and CEO of St. John's Community Services, back for another episode of Advocates for All. And really excited today, we have a very special guest. It's Scott Williams, President and CEO of Discovery Park America. Scott, welcome to our episode today, and thank you for taking the time to join us.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be with you.
So I would like to kind of get into a little bit about kind of what brought our two organizations together. But first, for people that may not be from the Memphis area, may not be from Union City area or Western Tennessee, can you explain a little bit what is Discovery Park America? Because it's going to, I think, blow people away when they understand the size and scope of it.
Sure, yeah, it's actually incredible, and no one ever visits here for the first time without being blown away. And most people, every time they visit, are surprised. Discovery Park of America literally came up out of a cornfield. There was a really generous philanthropist named Robert Kirkland. He and his wife Jenny felt like education and exposure to new ideas was the thing that really helped enrich everyone's lives. They felt like that had enriched their lives, and so they wanted to find a way to give that back to the community that they lived in. And they loved Union City, Tennessee, and they lived here for most of their lives and ran their businesses out of here. Um, they founded Kirkland Stores, which is sort of a Pier 1 that is in some regions. And anyway, so they tried to figure out how can we really make the biggest difference possible with what we've been blessed with. And so Robert Kirkland put an ad in the paper that said, I'm wanting to build some kind of center for education in our community. If you want to join me, come to the library on this date at this time. And 250 members of the community showed up that day, which surprised him. So he set up tables throughout the library and made little cards that said transportation, space, minerals, history, art, theater, and then told people to go to the table that they were the most interested in. And so those people went to those tables and waited for their assignments. And then he told them, what I want you to do is I want you to brainstorm, and I want you to come up with what would you think would be a good exhibit or a good way to communicate that topic in a museum or a center of education. And so those became the committees, and each one of those put together their ideas and came and presented it to him. And he took all those ideas together and met with museum professionals. And he said, I have a $30 million budget. What can you do? And by the time he was finished, building this 50-acre heritage park with a 100,000 square foot museum, it was $100+ million that it cost him, and he has left an incredible legacy here in our community.
It's remarkable. I have not had the pleasure of seeing it in person, and it is now on my bucket list for one of my future trips to Tennessee. But for people that don't necessarily understand, Union City is not a massive metropolis, right? I mean, it's a smaller,
Correct.
correct?
Yeah, it's one of the smaller rural communities. It's got about 10,000 residents here in Union City. We are surrounded by small rural counties that are either threatened or at risk. It's an area where there is a lot of need, and where people don't get to travel to DC like you and I have gotten to go and see all the Smithsonians, and they don't necessarily get that opportunity. So young people and adults of this region get to come and experience that. One of my favorite things to get to do, especially this time of the year when we have a lot of visitors during the summer, is to watch young people who see an escalator for the very first time. So if you're seeing an escalator for the very first time, imagine what the rest of this place, how it is changing lives. And he originally thought, first of all, he was told by many museum professionals, don't try this. Take it to Nashville, take it to, Atlanta, go to a big metropolis. You're not going to get enough people to visit. But we get about, in a non-pandemic year, we get about 250,000 visitors. And so people come from all over, and they're just blown away. And honestly, I get to see, and I get letters and emails and phone calls from people whose lives are changed by this place every single week. So it's so exciting.
Tell us a little bit about some of the exhibits that are either happening now or some of your favorite ones, from the past.
Sure. It's it's when you're in the museum business and you have to fill out forms a lot of times, they have you check the box. Are you science, history, art? I'm literally every single one of those. So um some of my favorite things to do if I get a minute and I want to walk around a little bit and check out and watch people enjoying the museum, we have a giant aquarium that is full of fish that one would find in a lake that's nearby called Reelfoot Lake. The lake itself was formed in 1811 by a series of earthquakes that opened up the earth, and the Mississippi River flowed backwards and filled up the lake. So it's very popular for bird watchers and duck hunters, and it's quite a remarkable lake. But then also we have an earthquake simulator that tells the story of exactly how it was formed. So it really enlightens people on this region. We also have a giant military gallery with all types of equipment and a giant helicopter. We have a Native American gallery that tells the story of the Native Americans that lived in this region. Probably one of the things that most younger people first captures their imagination. We have a gigantic sculpture of a man made out of giant metal pipes, but there's a slide that goes from his back all the way through his body, all the way down his leg to the next floor, where there's a whole children's gallery area. So that's, of course, extremely popular amongst children. But then adults, I did it one morning at 4 a.m. when nobody could see me, and so adults enjoy it as well. Outdoors, we have a giant train that's from the beginning to the end. The engine, you can get on there and pull the whistle. It was a train that was built in Norway in the 60s, and so it's got a real funky feeling to it, and people can walk through and see what it was like to travel on a train back in the day. We have an entire church that was made it was built in the mid 1800s, that has been taken apart piece by piece and put back together here on our property, so you can see what church was like back in the day. And then we have an exhibit on innovation in agriculture that just opened up. It's a brand new $1 million exhibit that tells the story of how innovation is changing agriculture and the way we as people get our food, fuel, and fiber. So and that is just honestly a tiny taste of what we have. We have two giant lakes that are connected by a river, and we have sidewalks, and it's beautifully landscaped. We have Japanese gardens, European gardens, American gardens. It's really, we have a complete village of 14 cabins that have been taken apart in various places in the country and put back together again here. So anyway, I could go on, but as you can see, it takes a couple days to see it all.
No, that's awesome. I know I was on the website. I saw you do a lot of space exploration too, in terms of like promoting NASA, and you've had different astronauts involved in the program, either by blog or on your podcast, which is incredible. And you mentioned Reelfoot. If I remember from the website correctly, that's I don't want to say a region, but it's a region of Western Tennessee, right? And so you've also called your podcast Reelfoot, if I remember.
Correct. Yeah, we called it Reelfoot Forward because Reelfoot Lake, the culture of that whole area really built up around hunting, fishing, very outdoors exploration, and so it really it really embraces a lot of what we're about here, which is being inspired to see new and different things, and exploration. We're all about exploration with the name Discovery part, and so we thought Reelfoot Forward was a great name for our podcast, because we interview people who are making a difference in helping other people be exposed to new ideas, people who've been innovative in things that they're doing. And that's been a real fun project as well, because we get listeners from all over the United States now, because it's awesome to hear somebody doing positive things no matter where they are.
Absolutely. And so you bring up so much. You bring up inspiration, you bring up changing lives, you bring up positive, things happening. You've done a lot for the community just in the existence of this museum and curating it and stewarding it so that people, youth, adults that come in can, like you said, discover, be inspired, grow, think big thoughts about what could be. But you've also changed the lives of at least 3 people that we support at St. John's Community Services by giving them opportunity for meaningful employment. And we've had a partnership with you now for 2, probably going on 3 years, which was also highlighted by the state of Tennessee's, Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. So you're finding a lot of different ways to be part of the community and to give back and really integrate and be involved in the community. And I'm really excited about the employment opportunities that you've provided.
Yeah, it's a it's there aren't many places like this, and especially in rural communities where people can go and work. But it's really important to us that we get the right people in positions, because customer service is one of our biggest assets. When people, because as you mentioned, we're an hour and a half from Jackson, Tennessee. We're about an hour and a half from Paducah, Kentucky. We're about 3 hours from Nashville and 2 hours from Memphis. So people have come a little bit of a distance to get here. Now, for those of us that have lived in Virginia and Washington D.C., that's like just a trip to the grocery store. But when you're in West Tennessee, that's a commitment to drive that far. So when people get here, we make absolutely certain they have an incredible experience with all of the associates here that they encounter, and those that you mentioned do an incredible job of welcoming people and of serving them when they've arrived.
We've often found, and I hear this from employers of people we support, that oftentimes it's our folks that have just this amazing attitude, and they just are morale builders for all that come in contact with them because they have such a positive outlook. And so I hear that over and over again, that really the addition of folks that have intellectual developmental disabilities to a work environment, as they are the right fit, end up really bringing in so many positives that it makes the whole organization better.
Oh,
And
no question, no question.
yeah, and it's great to see that in action, and it's wonderful to hear that from you. And hopefully, it's an encouragement to other employers to think about, hey, what would the addition of someone with an intellectual or developmental disability, what could that mean to me? And it's less about corporate social responsibility, and it's more about creating a better culture, creating a better environment, a better work site, and a better experience for people that are interacting with you. So it's wonderful to hear. So, Scott, you must have, I can't imagine what the last year and a half was like. I mean, so you are a public facing, public engaging kind of venue, and all of a sudden, things lock down. How did that impact you, and how did you and your team manage your way through it? And I'm sure you're super excited to be welcoming people back in droves back into Discovery Park.
Yeah, I mean, we felt like it was our responsibility as good citizens of the greater community to set a good example. So we followed the directions that we were given, and we looked for every way possible to create just as good of an experience with needing to wash your hands and wear a mask as without. And so, we did a few things outdoors. We launched a new outdoor art exhibit that was really nice by a sculptor named John Toros, who has 20 sculptures throughout the park. We started letting people, we had never let people fish before. So we made fishing available, and people could come in and be outdoors and fish. We required masks, of course, and most people followed the rules, and had a good attitude about it, and appreciated the fact that we were trying to contribute in that way. And then, for us and for me as a leader and for my leadership team, I feel like the thing we did the most was communicate, communicate, communicate. I think with both internally with our staff to make them feel like they were safe, and also with people on the outside, so there were no surprises when they got here, and so they understood what we were doing and why, what the policies were. And I would have to say, yes, I'm very glad that we are now, if you've had your vaccines, then we are mask optional. And some people still wear a mask, others do not, but it is very, very, very nice to have people back in the building to such a degree. We never, we were closed for a couple months, but then after that, we always, had people here. And so, but now, we've kind of got the masses here, and it's so much fun to hear that noise. I can hear it outside my office, hear kids running around and screaming and, having a good time.
Yeah, and I just think about the level of innovation that you had to probably go through with the team to find creative solutions to keep people safe while allowing them to continue to discover and explore and enjoy the overall experience. I mean, so that's amazing. I really appreciate that, and I just want to thank you so much, Scott, for your partnership. Thank you for your support of those that we're supporting with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Thank you for demonstrating what's possible when you fully integrate into the community. And before we go, I just want to make sure people know what's the website for Discovery Park so that they can check it out, because even the art sculptures that you talked about, you've got a whole segment of that on the website, which is really cool. But people could go to the website and find out how to plan their trip. So what's that website?
Sure. It's discoveryparkofamerica.com. And, if people are coming from any distance at all, I really recommend, we have 3 brand new hotels that are right next door. So I really recommend people get a room, visit Discovery Park, check out Reelfoot Lake. We have wineries nearby, and all that's on our website. So there's a lot you can do for a long weekend or even longer. So we love welcoming people from literally all over the world. So everybody needs to plan a trip. And if you come, ask for me. I'd love to come out. I love meeting our guests and talking, giving them a few tips about, what to check out first. So please, just ask for Scott Williams when you arrive.
Well, definitely, I'm going to do that. But here's the catch. I want to go down the slide, okay? And it can't be at 4 a.m. in the morning. So.
Absolutely. No. We're going to video that and put it on the website.
And then finally, to your, once again, the podcast, Real Foot Forward.
Yeah, you can just Google Real Foot Forward podcast. It's called Real Foot Forward, a West Tennessee podcast, but there aren't very many Real Foot Forwards out there. So if anybody wants to Google it, we have a lot of fun with our podcast.
And it's REEL, right? Real.
Correct. Yeah, REEL, Real Foot.
Okay, well, be sure to check that out, everyone. And again, Scott, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so very much for being such an advocate.
Yeah, and thank you for what you do and what your whole organization does. It's really been a blessing to all of us at Discovery Park. So thank you as well.
Thank you. Take care now.